Hello, this is Jeff Cawley, VP of Market Development, Northwest Analytical. This webcast is adapted from the presentation Global Food Safety Initiative Management Systems, what they mean for your operations and your business. I gave this at the 2010 Oregon Institute of Food Technology Food Ingredients Expo on February 22nd in Portland, Oregon. Our first question is, why are we concerned with food safety management systems? The answer is that we must cope with extended food supply chains that have developed. We now have a large number of parties involved over significant time and space. Failures, such as the Peanut Corp of America, have demonstrated the enormous cost of supply chain failures, often running into the millions to tens of millions for individual participants, in addition to the tragic and unacceptable health risks. Modern food processing is an industrial process. This means we can apply the methodologies and systems that have been developed to manage industrial processes to reduce the risk and guarantee our success. We must demonstrate safety and quality at each step. The Food Safety Management System provides that token, which allows us to move an ingredient or a product from one step to the next with confidence. These can take the form of audit information, process and product quality data, etc. Whatever is the appropriate information to allow us to accept the result of the previous step in that process with confidence. This requires data accessibility, transparency, analytics, and role-specific reporting. As we will see, the role of commercial standards is to provide the structure that will make this dependably happen. During the last decade, we have experienced a perfect storm, a convergence of governmental regulations and commercial standards. These create the trends that require food processors to implement an integrated food safety management system. A little historical perspective on these converging factors that we see. Beginning in the late 90s, the USDA and FDA imposed HACCP requirements on the commodities of meat, poultry, fish, and juices. Europe, with EU 852, which became law in the 1st of January 2006, required HACCP for all food production. And currently, in the United States House and Senate, the Food Safety Enhancement Acts are working their way through the legislative process. Likewise, in this last decade, we saw the establishment of ISO 22000 as a HACCP-based food safety management system, and the growth of the Global Food Safety Initiative. EU 852 gives us a preview of the impact of the upcoming U.S. regulations, which will require HACCP-based food safety management systems for the entire food production and supply system. Meanwhile, in the United States, House Bill 2749 was passed July 29, 2009, and was referred to the Senate on August 3, 2009. Senate Bill 510 is still in process. Both of these require HACCP programs and systematic approaches to food safety in all of the food industry. Like in the EU, these bills will require that food processors implement real, functionable, and auditable HACCP programs. Complementing the governmental regulations are commercial standards for food safety and quality management. These come from international standards organizations such as ISO and industry-based groups such as the Global Food Safety Initiative. The effort of these has been to establish baseline behavior within the industry. Also, to reduce audits to decrease the overhead in compliance. Hopefully, these will then simplify supply chain management and increase the supply chain confidence, both for the industry and for the final consumer. The Global Food Safety Initiative, or the GFSI, was launched in May 2000 by the Consumer Goods Forum. This project is an effort by the large grocery retailers to form integrated standards for audits for food safety in their supply chain. The GFSI's objectives are to increase the food safety, ensure consumer protection, and hopefully thereby strengthen consumer confidence in the products for sale in retailers, to benchmark the requirements of the various food safety management schemes and decide which ones should be accepted as audit schemes for the retailers, and finally increase cost efficiency throughout the food supply chain. One of the ways in which they do this is by reducing the frequency of different audits. Here we see a representation of the participants in the GFSI. The audit scheme owners at the top are the people who define and maintain the individual audit schema. These would be organizations such as BRC or SQF. The accreditation bodies, for example in the United States, that would be ANSI, that perform the accreditation of these programs. Then next down you have the individual certification bodies, which are the ones who are implementing this within the different client manufacturers and providing the consulting and validation services. These would be organizations such as Silica or BSI. What do the individual GFSI stakeholders get out of these standards? For the manufacturers, there are a reduced number of audits and all the overheads associated with them. They certainly possess clarity of the food safety scheme requirements, and this will enable extra time and resources to invest in the food quality and safety levels of their production. The retailers receive improved production standards from the processors and improved information on the food safety schemes being employed. All in all, this leads to an exchange of best practices and knowledge. We see here the approved GFSI Food Safety Management System audit schemas. The earliest ones are BRC, SQF, IFS, and Dutch HACCP. And recently they have approved ISO 22000 based schema. This includes FSMS 22000 and Synergy 22000. The GFSI has enjoyed some very successful rate of adoption. Here we see the logos of 8 of the top 25 global retailers, and these have accepted the GFSI standards. These 8 represent 54% of the total revenues of this top retailer group. Several others tell us they are now examining the GFSI for their vendor food safety audits. It also should be noted that restaurant chains are likewise participating in GFSI activities. There indicates there's a strong trend here. Another trend is the move toward schema based on the ISO 22000 Food Safety Management System standard. Here we see Cor Grunveld, who is the General Manager of Food Service for Lloyd's Register. He is also on the ISO 22000 technical committees and is the lead in the creation of FSMS 22000, the first of the ISO 22000 based GFSI schemas. This was followed by the Swiss-based Synergy 22000. And finally, SQF has indicated that they will be introducing an ISO 22000 based standard. This sounds like a very strong trend in the standard direction. What is ISO 22000? Well, it's an auditable standard for food safety systems. It is based on HACCP and prerequisite programs. It involves a strong system management approach to food safety. And a very important aspect is it defines an integrated food safety management system with an emphasis on management. ISO 22000 is a commercial standard for food safety management systems. The foundation for such systems are HACCP and prerequisite programs. As we indicated, HACCP and prerequisite programs are becoming mandatory by regulation across food processing. HACCP, of course, stands for Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point. It is the foundation of modern science-based food safety. It is designed to prevent biological, chemical, and physical hazards in food products. The HACCP methodology is designed to identify the individual food safety hazards, determine the likelihood and severity of each of them, and produce and implement a HACCP program to control these risks. The question becomes how to incorporate HACCP programs into a larger enterprise context of a management system. And then how do we provide those support systems which will help guarantee HACCP success? Here we have a diagrammatic overview of the components of a food safety management system. We can see on the left-hand side the data collection from the actual process itself, so we can understand what is happening to the safety and quality parameters. This data is stored in some sort of centralized data management system, and the information is reported to operations, to management, and throughout the supply chain. Let us examine the individual portions of this system. For the process data collection, the sources of our data are control systems, such as the systems that would say control a large retort, the laboratory information management system. Certainly in much of food processing, the laboratory is a major process sensor, the plant floor quality information system, and increasingly some sort of electronic HACCP data collection. The system must also enable us to deal with our supply chain. It needs to provide the materials and information we need for vendor certification, to support audits, to provide supply chain quality management and safety and quality deliverables to us, and finally provide a conduit for recall notification and management. The operational part of the food safety management system must enable us to control the operations of this process and the disbursement of the individual products. We need to have works in progress tracking, inventory capability, lot track and trace, both for ingredients and for products, document control, and very importantly, our compliance information. Management requires access to total enterprise management software, the customer relationship management software, and finance also. Finally, they need to have a view into the whole compliance records of the process. These days, management process awareness is becoming mandatory. What are important steps for implementing a GFSI compliant food safety management system? First, one must choose which particular audit standard you will be going for guidance as to what you need to implement. You then need to evaluate gaps in the current system, implement those systems, then provide training and process validation. Finally, and very importantly, at all times one must communicate with the customer, the auditor, and the consultants to make sure that you are hitting the desired result. What results can we expect from a properly implemented and run food safety management system? First is transparency through all parts of the system. One of the things that is important is that it provides role-specific reporting and analytics, so each participant in the process knows what they need to do and has the decision support for it. It needs to be able to reduce supply chain risk. And finally, as a result, it will increase safety, quality, and confidence throughout the system, all the way to the individual consumers in the supermarket aisle. Here's a list of resources for you as you look at the topic of food safety management systems. The first two are tracking for the current U.S. government food regulations. The third one is the Consumer Goods Forum, plus followed by their current guidance document. And below that, you'll see the websites of the individual GFSI audit schema: SQF, BRC, IFS, Dutch HACCP, FSSC 22000, and Synergy 22000. Thank you very much for listening. I am Jeff Cawley at Northwest Analytical. If you wish to contact me for any questions, you can use my email, which is jcawley@nwasoft.com, or please feel free to give me a call at 503-224-7727. We always look forward to helping you.